out of all these additions, who has flashed, who has popped, who is showing to be a high-level Power 5 player on the defensive side?
Go ahead, Tim.
That's easy. You just gave me the biggest layup of the week. Is without a question the guy that's showing us that's going to be a difference maker that's truly going to change the trajectory of this team is Bear Alexander. This guy is a big time player. This guy is an NFL player. You could say on the back end you got Kalen Bullock. We've been playing without our starting. Well, we did. Eric Gentry did come in for spot play here, but you can tell he's still nursing something, so they pulled him back. But Bear Alexander, this guy is exactly what you need in a nose tackle, right, or a defensive tackle. He's just lining up. He's causing havoc. There's two ways, right? One, on the pass plays, he's absolutely collapsing that pocket. He's just shoving that line right back into the quarterback, disrupting everything, allowing those rush head guys to come in and clean up from the side. It's no question that his addition to USC is a difference maker. And I'll tell you what, nobody in the Pac-12 has an answer for this guy. So even as the competition gets better, two things you got to remember also. At Oregon and Washington, they lost the interior. All right, their interior guys are gone. And as far as their offense goes, and a guy in Bo Nix and Penix, those are two guys that have had a lot of time to play in the last 3 games and 2 games, sit back and have a lot of time. They will not have that time with a guy like Bear Alexander on it. He is a difference maker, and he's going to be a big reason why this defense is going to look totally different. Because if you get that rush, you collapse the pocket, the whole dynamic of it, it all starts with him. They got to scheme for him. They got to double team him. They got to do a lot to watch for him. That's going to allow all these other playmakers to come in, and also to make the job of those defenders in the back end a lot easier because they're not going to have to cover guys very long because of the pass rush.
Yeah, I would have to agree that it's Bear Alexander, and it should be noted, when we talked, Mark, after the San Jose State game 2 weeks ago, we noted that Georgia fans were dunking on Bear Alexander because that one play went viral where it wasn't his gap responsibility. He was a trailer, like it wasn't his side of the field, but nevertheless he was jogging toward the ball instead of hustling. That went viral. Georgia fans were laughing, and we said Sean Nua, Alex Grinch, they're going to look at that on film and they're going to say, you know what? That's not acceptable. I think we can safely conclude the coaches got through to Bear Alexander about that play. We have not seen any loafing. We've seen him go full tilt. He's ragdolling opponents. This is the Bear Alexander we hope to see. So I would fundamentally agree with Tim. If you want another name other than Bear Alexander, I would say it's Jamil Muhammad. I think that he is the pass rusher on the edge who has made the most impact. And this does coincide with a concern, though. You haven't seen Anthony Lucas getting a lot of reps. Now that is a story to monitor in the early part of the season. I think we were expecting Lucas to get a lot more run and to make more of an impact. But of course, before this upcoming off week, it's not as though USC absolutely had to have certain guys at a certain stage in their evolution. Where guys evolve and how much guys evolve after this off week and after these next 2 weeks of practice, that's going to be more urgent. Like they didn't have to have everything figured out now. It's really having things figured out to a certain degree when you go to Boulder on September 30 to deal with Shadur Sanders and Travis Hunter and the rest of that Colorado offense, but especially for Sam Hartman and the Irish on October 14th. So it's going to be really interesting to see where Anthony Lucas is. And also, USC hasn't been playing Mason Cobb. Like you can afford to play it safe against Nevada and Stanford. You don't need to play him if you're worried about his health. Like that's been one of the advantages of this soft early part of the schedule. You don't need to play guys if there are real health questions. So then Mason Cobb is going to get this next week off, of course. And so he should be ready to play for Arizona State on September 23rd. You bring Mason Cobb back into the mix. You get Anthony Lucas coached up a little bit more. You could see some real depth and development on this defense. But for now, I would say Bear Alexander 1, Jamil Muhammad 2nd. And then in the secondary, it's a USC show, but I can't resist this. I have to say this now. One of the really big major storylines, Mark and Tim and everyone else watching here on the Voice of College Football, one of the major Pac-12 storylines early in the season, and it very much includes USC, but it branches out to other teams in the conference, is that you've seen Pac-12 teams go up against bad quarterbacks. Utah going up against Baylor's backup quarterback who made the critical mistakes that turned that game around for the Utes in the second half. You saw Oregon going up against Texas Tech, and Tyler Shuck had some good plays, but a lot with the running game, not the elite passer that the Ducks are going to face later in the year when they go up against Michael Penix in October, when they go to Seattle. And then, of course, when they face Caleb Williams, and then, with Cam Rising being injured, when he gets healthy, how he plays against the top tier of the Pac-12, you really do have situations in which all of the Pac-12's top teams, you can't really say that their defenses have arrived or that they've all figured things out. They've benefited from playing not very good quarterbacks. That includes USC. But again, as I illustrated, particularly with Utah, if Utah plays a Baylor team that has a half-decent quarterback, that's a loss for the Utes in Waco. So really for USC and Utah and Oregon, you could also throw Washington into the mix. I mean, Washington has not played an especially good quarterback or offense in its first 2 games. That's really one of the major storylines through week 2, is that what happens when each of these teams comes up against a high-level quarterback. We haven't seen any of the big hitters in the Pac-12 go up against a top-tier QB. How that question gets answered when they step into the arena against a really good quarterback, that's going to be important. And that's why the Oregon-Colorado and USC-Colorado games on the 23rd and the 30th are going to be such major discussion points framing the rest of the Pac-12 season going into October and November.